2 weeks ago, the NBA world was lit on fire when on a random Tuesday night in March of 2026, Bam Adebayo would do the unthinkable. 83 points. 83 points in an NBA game. It felt like a video game. This was something that we hadn't seen in over 20 years. Someone actually passing Kobe's 81-point game in the modern NBA. Now, this game has brought out a lot of debates around the NBA world. Some people say it's one of the best performances in NBA history, while others say it was unethical, and others have said that this game by Bam might or might not be better than Kobe's 81-point game. Well, let's put it to the test. Is Bam Adebayo's 83-point game better than Kobe's 81? Well, let's find out. When comparing different games from different eras and different generations, you have to factor in the era that they're playing in. For Bam, he's playing in an era that is one of the highest scoring eras in NBA history, meaning buckets are easier to come by than it was back then in Kobe's day. In Kobe's 2006 season, the pace of play was around 90 possessions for 48 minutes, meaning the final score of games were around the 70 to 90 point range. This means that Kobe was dropping 81 points in an era that was one of the slowest dead ball eras in NBA history, compared to Bam's era where the pace of play is around 102 possessions for 48 minutes, meaning that Bam is playing in an era that is one of the highest scoring and fast tempo eras in NBA history. Now, this context matters because when we compare whose game is better between the two, the pace of play will play a factor into how easy it is to get the points and how harder it is to get the points. Now, with that nerdy shit out of the way, let's compare the games. First, let's start with Kobe's game. Now in Kobe's game, this was in the middle of his legendary 2006 season, a season where he would average 35 points a game, but specifically in the month of January, he was putting up around 40 points a game. So heading into this January matchup versus the Raptors, it was safe to say Kobe was out on a mission to lead his Lakers to another win. Now, in Kobe's 81-point game, Kobe in the first half wasn't exactly Kobe. You see, Kobe at the end of the first half only had 26 points and his team was down big heading into the second half. Heading into the third quarter, the Lakers needed Kobe to go off if they wanted to win this game, which is exactly what would happen as he would drop 55 points in the third and fourth quarter combined to lead the Lakers to a win over the Raptors. Kobe's 55 points was the second most points scored in a half in NBA history, only behind Wilt Chamberlain's 59 points, in which, you guessed it, was a part of his 100-point night. So when we look at Kobe's total box score, we see 81 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists on 28 of 46 shooting and 7 of 13 from 3. As you could see, Kobe shot really efficiently this night, and this was one of the major factors that NBA fans use to try to say Kobe's 81 is better than Bam's 83. Kobe's overall stat line is very impressive and easily one of the greatest performances in NBA history. So, is Kobe's 81 better than Bam's? Well, let's find out. Now digging into Bam Adebayo's game, you have to understand that the Heat were taking on one of the worst teams in the league, similar to how Kobe was taking on one of the worst teams in the league for his 81-point game. In the first quarter of this game, Bam was already off to an electric start as he would drop 31 points in the first quarter. Bam was already ahead of pace of Kobe's 81-point game in the first quarter alone. By the time the first half ended, Bam already had 43 points, which is almost double the amount of points Kobe had in the first half of his 81-point game. By the metrics, Bam was already on pace to not only beat Kobe's record, but he might take down Wilt's 100-point game as well. Heading into the third quarter of this game, Bam, who already had 43 points, would drop an insane 19 points in the third quarter as he would finish off the third quarter with 62 points, which is the second most points scored through 3 quarters behind only, you guessed it, Kobe's 62 points versus the Mavericks in 2005. Now, at this point, the Heat were winning by almost 20 points. Most coaches at this point would take out their players and call it a night. 62 points, a record-breaking accomplishment and one of the most impressive scoring nights in NBA history. But the Heat decided to keep Bam out there. Bam would stay in the game in the fourth quarter, and by the 9-minute mark, would get this and one bucket to push his total to 69 points. This was historic, one of the greatest nights in NBA history. And with Bam sinking the free throw, he put his total up to 70 points. Now at this point, this would have been the ideal time to take him out, as the Heat were up by 25 and the game was pretty much set in stone. However, they kept him in the game still, and this is how Bam got his last 13 points. Free throw, 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 and free throw. 83 points. Just like that. When you look at both of their games, the glaring stat in Bam's game is that he attempted 43 free throws compared to Kobe's 22, and Bam attempted way more threes than Kobe did in his game. Just looking off these stats alone, you would assume that Bam was just chucking up shots, which was exactly what he was doing. However, this is how NBA history is made. The reason why Kobe's 81-point game even stood for so long is because of the circumstances to even get his record is one of the hardest to come by. We've seen players since him get high-scoring games and get really close to breaking the record, but due to the game being a blowout, the players will pull it out of the game, and with us being punished of ever eclipsing this record. Bam Adebayo's game was one of the few cases where the circumstances were not perfect enough for him to get the record, but he had a coach that was willing to keep him in the game to chase history. How many times have we seen in NBA history where a coach has willingly kept his player in the game despite it being a blowout to chase NBA history? We have rarely seen that, and that's probably why most people will look back at this performance from Bam as one of the most unethical performances in NBA history. Bam and his coach were willing to damage the infringement rules of the game and were willing to go against what the NBA world saw as unspoken rules and chase history, despite it doing a lot more bad than good. So we're back to the question that started it all. Is Bam Adebayo's 83 better than Kobe's 81? Well, it all depends on your personal opinion. Do you value efficiency and the integrity of the game, or do you value records being broken regardless of the manner? Either way, whoever you think has the better game is really up to your own personal opinion. So, which game was better, Bam's 83 or Kobe's 81? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and until next time.